Okay, thank you very much to the organizers and to the chair people for letting me give this presentation today. And I have to say that I'm really excited to talk about this, and I'm also a bit nervous because this is the first time for me to present this work. So I'd like to tell you about a new tool which my team has developed, and it's called iCLiKVAL. And it has a really kind of crazy sounding name, but I hope by the time that we get to the end of the talk, you'll see that that name makes perfect sense. So I don't know if anybody saw the tweets, but we're going to actually have a little bit of a live demo here. And so if you actually register to our tool at this URL, you can actually use it. We just opened it yesterday, only to people in Cambridge. So, and it'll be open at least for registration through the end of this meeting. And then afterwards, if you're interested in using it, you can always contact me. But during the live demo, if you're registered, and another way you can also use the tool is via Twitter. So if you do register, you can go into Settings, Tweet Annotation, and register your Twitter account. So this is the first kind of step I'm going to say to maybe manual curation actually can be fun. I'm sure some people here actually find it fun for their own reasons. But I'd like to introduce you to my team is quite small. So actually, two of my team members are here. So Seokwak Kim, I said his name wrong. We just call him Kim-san. He'll be presenting a poster 53, which is unrelated to this work. And then Naveen Kumar, and he's the one who actually did the bulk of the work building this tool. I had the idea kind of several years ago, but when Naveen came along, then he's helped me create this. And he has a poster so both their posters are this afternoon. So I encourage you to come by, and we'll also be able to show you how to use it if you're interested, and to answer more technical questions and so on. So before I go on any further, I have to confess, I heart PubMed. Okay, so I may say some things that sound like I'm dishing it, but actually, I think all of us are familiar with this, and it's one of the first places that we go whenever we're doing any kind of new study. So maybe there's a few facts about PubMed that you may or may not know. This one's obvious when you see their homepage. Right now, there's over 24 million articles. It's probably up to about 25 million by now. 19.7 of those are in English, at least according to the language. And 4.5 of those are non-English. And surprisingly, 320,000 of those are of undetermined language. So I thought, that's kind of weird. So I'm sure it's not something that nobody can read, but just there's a language tag with every article, and, well, some of these are undetermined. Somebody just needs to look at it and say, hey, this is, Hindi, or this is Sanskrit, or this is, whatever. The oldest article that I could find, I don't think PubMed was actually started in 1809, but there are articles from 1809. And the newest one is from 2016. There's actually about 400 articles from 2015, so people are really getting a jump on things. So I thought that was pretty cool. Last year, there were over 1.1 million new citations in PubMed, which means 94,000 per month, or about 3,000 per day. So lots and lots of data is going in there all the time. So we know it's a great resource, and it's growing. So some of the useful, like when authors submit their papers, sometimes they submit keywords to their paper. And then sometimes there's a group that adds on these mesh terms, medical subject headings, to the articles to try to make it more informative. Sometimes you see both keywords and mesh terms in the same article. Sometimes you only see mesh terms. Sometimes you only see keywords. And sometimes you don't find either. Okay, so every article has kind of a different combination of the amount of information that is attached to it. Many citations don't have any abstracts, especially ones that are in foreign languages. And usually the full text of the article is not available for the search. And that includes all of the figures, tables, supplementary data. So there's a lot more information than what's just in the title and in the abstract that we would actually like to be able to search for. So again, the first place I think many of us will go for their study is to PubMed. But actually, that's just a small blip of the amount of data, scientific data that's out there. There's a lot of other data. Not every journal in Medline is indexed in PubMed. If you're not in our field of biological sciences, if you're in physics or mathematics, there's a whole other set of journals and things that you would go to. Sometimes there's an overlap. So there's a lot of other data out there, whether it's books, news articles, other fields of types of information, photos, figures, tables, supplemental information, and so on, that when you do your search, if you're interested in some gene or subject, you'd actually like to see those things as well without having to go to PubMed, go to Google, go to Medline, go to some other resource. So I think there's a local guy here who wrote something similar to this, but to add an S or not, or space or not. So simple things like adding an S to your search term can change the results. So one of my fields of interest is metagenomics, and so if I were to search for the term metagenome, I'd get 4,191 hits, but if I add an S onto it, I get 4,434 hits. So I think, oh, I add an S, I get more hits. Maybe it seems counterintuitive. Or metagenomics, I get 2256, but if I remove the S, I get actually more hits. So sometimes you get more, sometimes you get less. Words actually can be split. So microbiome is different from microbiome with no space, and different from microbiomes. And each of them has their own unique number. There's some overlap between these terms, same with these here. But you do get some unique papers if you leave the space in. So if I want to find metagenomic articles, I do a simple search like this. So I'm not going to read this slide word for word. But you can see there's a lot of terms and variations in terms. And I'm sure this isn't complete, because once in a while I come across a new term. It's like, oh, shoot, I missed that one. So, so I'm trying to be as inclusive as possible. I just want to quickly go through the articles and see if it has anything to do with any area of metagenomics. And then sometimes you get a lot of false positive hits, because some of the terms like flora and biome are a little bit generic. But you can do, most of these are just ors, but you can also put in some nots. This is again using PubMed terms, like I don't want the word microbiome in the journal title, because sometimes the article doesn't have anything to do with metagenomics, even though it's in a journal that has the word microbiome, or environmental if it's an affiliation, because there's a lot of departments that are called like environmental genomics or something, but they don't do metagenomic related work. So what we've, for our tool, we're using this entity attribute value model. So in the last talk we had EVA, in this talk we have EAV. Kind of a theme here. So, but we call them, so a lot of people will just call it attribute value, name value, key value. The term that we usually go through is key value. So our ID, in this case I'm talking PubMed, but we're not going to limit our tool. Right now we're developing it by using PubMed as the model. But we're not going to restrict ourselves just to the PubMed database. We want to capture all information. So right now, our unique identifier is the PubMed ID. And then we add on, we have some key, like we taught in the last couple talks we've heard about. Maybe you have a gene and you have a gene name, or you have a species and you have human or some type of apple, like we heard. So those would be your keys and your values describing this entity. So like I said, currently those are PubMed for IDs for us. For the keys and values, we're auto-suggesting mesh terms. But again, we don't want to limit to any certain ontology. I'm not dishing genome ontologies either. I think they're great. What we want you to do is use the one that you're familiar with. So what we've done for the start is we've added in the mesh terms. But if you want to use another ontology to annotate articles, then you should be able to, we'll have it so you can select or upload that one. And you can use those. And we're not limiting to English either. So what we're wanting to do in the name of the tool is called crowdsourcing. We want everybody to try to add a little bit of information, not just to their own papers, but even to other papers if they have time, to make searching scientific literature more valuable for all of us. So some people are, of course, I'm lucky. English is my native language. And science is mostly done in English, so that's no problem. But many of us are not native English speakers. if I say, I want you to annotate your paper, but, oh, you have to do it in English, and you have to use these Go terms, they're going to, So, you know, you can do annotations in Japanese, Chinese, Hindi, whatever you want. What we'll do is, if that's more comfortable for you, what we'll do is we'll translate those. And we may have to work with you to make sure we're translating correctly. But we want this tool to be used by everybody. And we want the community to control the quality of the annotations to the literature. So we have a system in there where you can vote up or down. If you think an annotation is good, give it a thumbs up. If you think that's wrong, give it a thumbs down. There's some articles of ours that have nothing to do with human, but one of the mesh terms says male. I don't know where that came from. So it's not a very useful term for searching. So sometimes you want to kind of vote those down. And what we're going to do in the next phase of this project is to work on the semantic searching search tools so that we're not just, right now we're relying on PubMed searches, but eventually when we get more and more of the annotations added to papers, you'll have the option to search our database. So what we want to do is create a really enriched database of curated scientific literature. So I found this really cool article. It's actually from 1840. I don't know how, I just kind of came across it randomly. The word drunkenness maybe kind of popped out to me. And so I thought, well, that's kind of a neat little article. But there were no keywords, no mesh terms, no abstract, just the title. So I had to look at this. And I just did a quick annotation in our tool. So I'm reading along the paper. In Dublin contains a picture of a man, so species, human. That's our key value pair. Whose face was, the cephalic region, part of the head, the face. His face was eaten, ingestion method, eating, away by a pig, species, pig, while he was lying in a state of intoxication, physical state, alcoholic intoxication. Some of these are mesh terms, and some of them are ones that were not in mesh, but you can use non-mesh terms. And the entire nose, also part of the head, both cheeks and parts of both ears, and almost all the edible parts of his face were chewed off by the animal. So we have cephalic region, nose, cheeks, ears, most edible parts, and digestive system processes, mastication, chewing. Okay, so now if somebody were interested in such a thing, they could search for it and find it. Okay? And we're trying to make this as platform independent as possible, whether it's Mac, Linux, Windows, browsers, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and so on. iPads, Galaxy Notes, whatever. We want this tool to work everywhere. And one more thing. Your iWatch. I had to throw that in since we're working on it. So what I'm picturing is that, okay, all of us here, we're after a long meeting, yeah, I want to go to the beach, I want to relax, but I've printed out a couple, I got all the big stack of articles I need to read, So I take it to the beach with my iPhone, and yeah, I got a drink here, I got my paper, relaxing. Why not submit a few annotations for my paper? So we have a tool, that's why you can register your Twitter account, and you could submit annotations to the articles via Twitter. So if anybody wants to try this in the next second, I hope I'm doing okay time-wise. This is the number of the article, 24. So if you've registered for the tool, I know a few of you have, and a few of you have also registered your Twitter accounts. I'll go to the next. What I'm going to do is go to this page. I'll quickly show you how to use the tool. 2415 3277. Please, no blue screen of death. Okay. This is what the tool looks like. And hopefully I'm still logged in here. Okay. It's okay. And if you are registered, you're welcome to join in. 2415. Did I get the number already mixed up? Sorry about that. $24.15, $32.77. Search. It comes up like this. We have these options where you can decide you want to review the paper now, you want to review it later, you want to request a review because you don't have access to this. We are not a reference, we're not a PDF manager because we don't want to violate copyrights from the journals and PubMed and so on. But we have a viewer, so I'm going to go to Review Now. And our review page looks like this. And what you do is, if you have access to this article, you can save it to your computer. You can save it to Dropbox. You can actually upload the files from Dropbox to here. So I'm going to quickly open this paper, which has this image in it. And what I would like you to do for like maybe 1 minute is, if you're registered, all you have to do is go to, you don't actually have to go to you need to go to this page here. You don't have to load the PDF, even though it is available here. But you would just add an annotation. You could say like, I don't know, what do you want to say here? Happy, huh? Did somebody make a suggestion? Okay.
Red lipstick.
Okay, so.
Key lipstick color.
Lipstick, red.
I don't think that's in there.
Lipstick. No, it doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. Save. Okay. We come down here, we can see lipstick color red. Now, actually, I see a few other people have added on a few things. Species, Anne Hathaway. Okay, thank you. Actress, Anne Hathaway. Let me just refresh here. Author, Carrie Smith. Okay, so yeah, you could, I put this kind of crazy picture there so maybe people could see things in there. There's a cat and a shoe and stuff. Okay, we got Carrie Smith, senior audio editor for Nature in London, discussed at conference. Okay, Genome Informatics 2014. So, see, what we're seeing is I don't want to limit. Everybody wants to annotate papers in their own way. So I don't want to limit the way that you're doing. I want everybody to annotate paper in a way that makes sense to them. Okay, we'll just do another quick refresh. Anne Hathaway, and then we have her Wikipedia site. Woman's name, Anne Hathaway, color red. Dugong color, okay, if I said that right. Blue-green, okay. So I'm glad that worked, and thank you for the people who participated in that. I appreciate it. So that's just a quick glimpse of the tool. There's a lot of other little features here where you can keep track of bookmarks, papers that you reviewed, papers that you requested for review. You can see the number of annotations that were. So one thing I wanted to show down real quick. Go to the. Oh. Okay. Oh, 0 as in totally 0. Okay. 0 as in totally 0. Okay, you see we have the mesh terms and the keywords automatically annotated in there. So let me quickly hop back over. Okay, so again, that's what the page looks like. This crazy name, interactive. I changed the name since the thing, interactive, crowdsourced literature, key value, annotation library. So I think all the words that make sense there. If you search for this term in Google, you get 5 hits. So, what we want to do, I know we've already heard mention about some of the other ontology databases and ontology projects going on. We don't want to, we know that there's a lot of these model organism-based databases. They've already done literature curation. We would like to work with you, not against you. So we have developed a REST API where you can get the annotation data from our database. And if you have annotations that you've already done and you'd like to share with us, we'd be really happy to talk with you how we could incorporate them into this tool. I got 22 seconds according to my. If you've ever heard the story about the 6 blind men and the elephant, they all went up and touched the elephant in different parts. And each one thought, oh, I must be touching a snake, touching the trunk. This guy, oh, I have a rug, or this is a tree, or this is a wall. So different people looking at the same thing in different ways are going to come up with slightly different solutions. They can either argue with one another and say, I'm right, or they can work together to come up with a kind of final answer. And that's what we'd like to do, is to let people annotate papers in their own ways, but then work together to annotate all the wealth of the world's scientific literature. So that's more accessible for the community and easier for you to find what you're looking for. So what's in it for me? We're going to keep track statistics of how people do annotations. If you're the annotator of the month, when you see me next time, I will buy you a beer, okay? And I guarantee you that. And we're working on the search capabilities, because that's going to be where the strength of this tool is, by adding on that information to make a really searchable thing. So we call it iCLiKVAL, and I thank you very much.
Any questions for Todd?
You can always come by my poster. I guess that live demo wore everybody out. Okay, thanks.